you proved me wrong. I like to be proved
That
wrong.
was recorded. Praise God. Everyone tweet that at me, please. Thank you so much.
Oh, it is recorded?
I'm going to start that.
Dang it.
I'm going to start that right there. You proved me wrong. Boom.
All right.
Hey, yo.
What's up?
We are super excited. Super excited. We got a special episode for you guys. He's always the horn man.
I love all the buttons.
All the buttons.
Oh my God.
Ready? All right, that's enough of that.
Your boy's losing his voice, so if I just suddenly stop talking, that's why. I'm drinking some nice honey tea.
The Lord is like, shh,
Shut your face. You're looking like an idiot. All right. But we are so excited for today's episode. We got some incredible guests, some listeners that have been with us since the beginning of time. Just kidding. The beginning of the prolific time.
Yeah.
We are coming up, at least at this time. This could be our 1 year episode. I don't know. We'll find out.
That would actually be a pretty awesome
we'll find
1 year
out.
episode. Yeah.
Because we got a bunch in our database right now that we got to drop and edit and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But we are
Welcome,
coming
guys.
up. Welcome
Awesome to have you.
We are coming up on a
Yes.
year.
We've been dying to have these guys with us because they live permanently in Puerto Rico, right? So obviously having you here is very hard because you're not living in Florida.
Yeah.
By the way, if you are watching this we shoot this in Florida, and so they live in Puerto Rico, and it's really cool that you guys listen to the podcast because we make this podcast for you.
Yep.
So it'd be really sad if we made it for you and you didn't listen to it. but in all seriousness, like it's just super cool to I wish that when I was your age, I would have had people that were having conversations about life that put like the Christian life in the context of like everyday life, you know? And so that's the reason why we do this. So I just want to tell you, like, before we even start, and I want you guys to introduce yourselves, but I just want to tell you how encouraged I am that we're a part of like your life in Puerto Rico, even though we're not there in person, and that we get to like, you know, I got to know you, Aitza, through like really the podcast, you know,
for sure.
which is just like cool, you know, and then I got to know Christian from Puerto Rico, and
That's
just like, it just keeps like, you know, so it's really super cool. So tell us a little bit about you, and tell us, and maybe just so people have a context, like just like your experience with like the podcast so far, and like why do you listen to it, you know?
For sure, yeah.
And maybe like how you met us in a sense, because obviously we've never met you until the podcast. Emily, you know, you can introduce and who you are and like stuff like that.
Well, I feel like I know Aitza already. Like I feel like I have met Aitza because
she's always encouraging you. Huh? I'm on the left side, you know. It's okay. Hey, I receive the wisdom from this man. He's a smart man. So take it.
For sure.
Introduce yourself and then give him a compliment.
I did not ask about
I'm joking. All right. So let's start with you, Aitza.
For sure. So my name is Aitza. I'm 26 years old. I am a missionary in Puerto Rico.
Let's go.
And it's been such an incredible experience. I was like telling Emily, honestly, your podcast helps a lot. And I was explaining it to you earlier, but like you guys talk about like real things that not a lot of people have the courage to talk about. And I feel like this area is like a safe space to be like, man, give it all out. And
That's awesome.
no, I really appreciate it. Like there was one time I listened to a podcast with Tang, and I'm telling you, I was gonna step into a hard conversation, and I saw like the description of that podcast, and I was like, let me just give it a listen. I'm telling you, I'm working, and that's the only thing I'm listening to, and I'm like taking notes about like how to like step into this like with a godly mindset instead of it just being so like, man, what you guys are doing is incredible.
That's awesome.
And I've obviously heard a lot more about you guys with Emily. It's so funny because I was thinking about it. I like, you know, when you cite scripture, like Emily cites you guys. Like she's like, Alejo and Joey once told me, and I'm like, dang, every time she mentions your name, I know it's gonna be good, so I have to have my notes out.
Receive that.
Awesome.
Hey.
Yeah.
That's awesome, Aitza. That's really cool.
It's an honor, girl. I mean, it's an honor. It's an honor that someone would be listening and take it, in a sense, take our words that we're just trying to receive from the Lord and
well, it's a big
share.
responsibility too, and like it makes you like, you know, the Bible says like don't desire. Not everybody desire to be a teacher because you're going to be held to a higher standard. And so like it definitely also like you know, it's like it gives you the fear of God, that like God is like watching to see like what it is that we're like talking about. And so I pray, and I just hope that like we continue to like just lean into God and like share stuff that is useful and that like does help people like live a more fruitful life with Jesus, because it could also not be that, you know. So I love, and we talked about this already, but I love the picture you guys sent us. So they live in Puerto Rico. They're missionaries together, and Emily's gonna introduce herself here in a minute. But they live together in the same apartment with a few interns, right?
Yeah, 2 interns.
So I'm gonna ask you guys about that and just all the fun of that. But they sent a picture to us eating dinner with like the phone.
Yeah, and was it
they're like
iPad?
watching the
It was
podcast.
an iPad?
It was an
Yeah.
iPad, yeah.
And so that just warmed my heart. I literally felt like I was there with you.
Yeah.
And it's just so special to me.
Yeah,
It's like really, really
it was
special.
such a weird. It was such a weird feeling. I think we were together having dinner, and we got that photo, and we were like, "That's just so cool.
That's super
like that's
cool.
so
Super
weird
cool,
that
yeah.
people are breaking bread."
And we feel like we're with you. You know?
like
it's,
that,
you know,
yeah.
the Bible
Yeah.
says in many places, like Paul will be like, I'm longing to be with you. Like I'm longing to just in like this unity of spirit, you know? And like, I'm seeing this more now in like my 30s, how like the faith can transcend like locations and geography, and how you can be connected to people in a way that it's like more than like, it like is like normal, like in a spiritual sense, you know what I mean?
Right.
So that's super cool. So Aitza, missionary,
Yes.
and then Emily, introduce yourself, please.
Who the heck are you?
My name is Emily. I'm 21 years old.
You're back. Is this your second time on the podcast?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were supposed to have a
So,
third, but the
no,
audio
we had a
really
second,
didn't work.
but then we recorded the whole thing. And
Yeah.
Didn't work out.
But yeah, so I also live in Puerto Rico as a missionary, and I've known Joey since I was 14, 15, and I think the same. Like I met you around the same time. I attended Wellspring Community Church, and so the same time that you guys were working there, I was there, and then we just became super close, and so you guys are like family to me. Your families are like my family. And then I moved to Puerto Rico, and like you guys were a big part of just like my high school experience, and so I think everything that has like led up to like this point in my life of like what I'm truly walking in, and like how I'm walking with the Lord. I think that the Lord is a major part in it, you know, but you guys really truly helped to propel me like where I needed to go. So yeah,
That's awesome. Well, that's what we're here for, right?
Yeah.
And praise God like for the people that have been around for us. Right, like for the time that like I always like to think of Christianity like this, like we're gonna get to heaven one day. I have this like picture in my head. Hopefully it's gonna be like that, but I picture like in heaven that we're gonna be able to like arrive and like see like almost like a filed line of people that were faithful with another person to another person
That's
to the point where like we like us, right? So like whoever like shared the gospel with you or was faithful to you, like that you're gonna be able to see like the people that were faithful to like towards them, and then like boom,
Like
and then
this
all the way
web.
back to like Jesus,
Yeah.
you know?
That's incredible.
I like really want to hang out in that room one day and just
Right.
like ask questions like, wait a minute, if you wouldn't have made it to that town, that person wouldn't have heard the gospel, and I wouldn't have blank, you know what I mean? And just like all the ways in which God has been faithful to us to like, you know.
This statement of I'm standing on the shoulders of giants, like that statement. Like
All
that's
weak people
who
just like decided,
Yeah.
you know, like I'm going to be faithful. So I have a question for you. So why do people call her Piojo?
Okay, so for those of you who don't know, piojo means lice. And we went on a mission trip to Nepal for 3 weeks. And
my dog, he said, let's go real right now.
and Emily brought lice back to the U.S. So
I
dare
sure
you.
did.
Yo, from Nepal? Those are different kind of lies,
Well,
man.
the
No,
thing is,
yeah.
I don't know if it was Nepal because we were in Nepal for 3 weeks,
Yeah.
and then I went to Central Asia for 3
Yeah.
weeks. So, but I mean, through my research,
showed
apparently they can you sometimes can't notice it for a while.
Oh,
So
really? Okay.
The thing is I didn't see anybody in Central Asia with lice, but we saw a lot of lice in Nepal.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah,
Okay.
And it was so funny because once I found out she had lice, I moved out the room.
and
you were in the same room?
never moved back.
This girl was trying to come over to my house when she had lies.
yeah.
Both of our wives are like,
Yeah.
I love Emily, but she ain't coming over.
And
She
Emily,
ain't showing up.
she was like, "Can you please help me take it out?" I'm like, "Emily,
No.
I have curly hair. Like,
Yeah, you
this
don't
is not gonna
understand.
help."
Your hair's
They
easy.
want me. Have
Yes.
you seen? You guys haven't watched New Girl, have you?
I have, yes.
Yeah, have you? You know when I think somebody's like getting wet or something, and then they're like, Winston, help, and Winston's like, there is no time for you, but there's still time for me.
No,
I
for
feel like
sure. That
Shout
was
out
me.
to Asia because
Yeah.
she came over and combed my hair out.
I was
Not
gonna
the
say
nation.
shout out to Asia
Not the
because the
nation.
nation of Asia
But
was left with
The-
lies from
yes,
Emily.
shout out to Asia.
But
No,
shout out to
shout out to the
and
person in
lies.
Asia who
Shout
came
out to that
over
nation
at
and
1
lady.
a.m. and combed my entire head. So
Yo.
I
you still have-
eventually helped her. Like I did.
Eventually.
once I was
Like-
like, I'm pretty sure it's gone. Then she was like, okay, I'll look.
I'll show
I was-
up.
I
I'll
was-
show up in your
so,
darkest
so
point
based
now.
on your experience with Lies, Emily, who truly loves you? Now that
For real.
Now,
Asia.
Wait,
Asia
no,
loves
come
me. Yo,
on.
she's gonna love this video.
Literally, like I was like, okay, I have to meet her in the middle. We have to meet in the middle.
Yeah.
So I was like,
A
fine, I'll
compromise.
help you. And I did it. I took out
Yeah.
a couple, and like I never got lice. Thank God.
wow.
There's a video of us with plastic bags on our heads hugging.
Yeah.
I hadn't hugged anybody or touched anybody in days.
Unclean.
Emily, physical touch, Mason is over there like,
That's funny.
Literally.
Wait,
Shake my hand.
so how did this play out? Like, how did you end up with 2 bags on your head and hugging? Like, who initiated this?
I think it was
You.
her.
It was you.
Nah, I think it was Emily. Yeah, we
They're
just
not
put
owning it
plastic
as-
bags over our head and then we hugged.
That's so
and we
funny.
recorded it too.
You're like,
oh my god.
I just need a hug. Do you want to put plastic bags on our head? That's
so
funny.
funny.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
That's
My
funny. So you guys actively live in a community of missionaries, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, I've had a lot of conversations with Emily about this, but obviously, like I know you were in the same situation
Right.
where you live with other people who are like actively missionaries in Puerto Rico, and you have like a really interesting lifestyle.
Yeah,
right?
honestly, yeah.
So like, tell us a little bit about that. Like, what does every day look like?
Yeah.
Being a missionary in Puerto Rico, and now you're not interns. Now you're like you're leading the interns like in the apartment. But tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's honestly like it's really different than being interns because
Yeah.
being interns, like your full schedule was like outreach, like planning and all that stuff, which like thankfully we get to still like kind of be interns without the
Sure.
title, but it's more freedom. It's more like we're living there. We give them our schedule. But I was telling Emily before we left, like I remember we had a deep conversation because like I feel like when you're such like doing like walking with the Lord, like the enemy likes to attack your mind. So I sat down with her. I was like, are we still missionaries? Because like we live here, we pay rent. Like, is this missions? And then I feel like the Lord convicted me a lot because we were talking about like evangelism, and it's like that's missions. Like we're not home, like we're not in Florida, we're not like where we're comfortable, and we're like willing to go to the malls, willing to go to like universities and meet these people where they're at. And I feel like that's the ultimate gift of like what it means to be a missionary. It's more than just like working as admin for Tel Aviv or more than just taking pictures. It's like meeting people where they're at. And I mean, I feel like it's a blessing to do that. And yeah, I don't know if you want to add.
Yeah. I think like it definitely does look a lot different because when we were interns, everything was planned for us. So we had a day to day from Monday to Thursday. We knew what we were going to do. Whereas now it's like we're still a part of outreach. We have specific days where we know we're going to be, in certain places doing whatever. But it is a little bit more free time. I think for me, it's been more of like, dang, what is the Lord trying to do while I'm here? Like why am I here? What am I supposed to be investing my time in? Because now that I have more time, it looks different. And so I want to be wise with the time that I have there. And even like, as Christians, like every Christian should be a missionary. Not in a sense of every Christian is called to travel across the world,
Right.
but you should be mission minded in the sense of like when you're at the grocery store in your hometown, like be
On mission.
be on mission, be like aware of what the Holy Spirit is speaking to you. And so I think like in a way, yes, we're living there, but okay, I'm placed here, but like how can I, be like leaning into that in outreach and stuff. Like it shouldn't just be, I'm only going to do outreach because I'm in Puerto Rico.
Right.
But like,
Yeah.
how is it day to day?
It was so funny. Like today, when we were buying bagels, like a lady, like she went through the drive-thru, ordered 2 hot chocolates, but they only gave her 1. So she came back in, was gonna buy another one. So then they were like, "We didn't charge you for it. You're gonna have to get your card to get it." So she was gonna go back to her car. So I was like, "I'll just pay for you." She was like so shocked.
Wow.
She's like, "Why?" And I was like, "Well, Merry Christmas. Like it's fine. You don't have have to go back to your car. And Emily, once the lady left, Emily was like, that's rare here. Like, we don't do that here. And I was like, well, let's start a new trend on like just paying it forward. Because it's true. Like, you don't have to be in missions to like preach the gospel. It's like wherever you're at, like just show the love of the Lord, you know?
Yeah, it's a decision of a lifestyle instead of a, you know, a small step. That's why there's a big difference between, you know, what I consider long-term and short-term missions. A lot of people use short-term missions as a vacation instead of an actual connection of people to a body of believers, you know? And that's where the long-term aspect, you guys are living in long-term. You're in Puerto Rico. You've been technically been there for what? Coming up on
it'll be a year
and a half.
I fly in the same day that I flew in last year.
That's awesome.
That's crazy.
And so like, you know, and your life is completely shifted the moment you stepped on mission for the gospel. Your faith has shifted because I remember the Emily before she went on mission. And let me put it up. And this is why I'm saying very specifically on mission, not a missions trip, not a missionary, but Emily, the Lord began to shift something in you in a way that you started to see life differently. Okay, I'm going to go on this as a mission. I'm going to go on this trip and I'm going to see what the Lord has for me. And little did you know what God was going to do in you while you were doing stuff for people. And then as he was doing stuff through you, he was doing stuff in you. And little did you know what was going to happen. And now you're on this side. Now you're on the other side of the water, you know, different things. You know, you never thought you were going to live in Puerto Rico. And, you know, you're like, nah, girl.
Never crossed your mind. Yeah.
I mean, you were going to go to Georgia. You were going to go to Georgia and you're going to do all this stuff and art. And yet God is still using the gifts and the talents of art in your ministry, which is just the ministry of being Emily, being the woman that the Lord has called you to be, you know? And I got to address one quick elephant in the room. And that elephant in the room is, if you don't notice, Emily's feet don't touch the ground. And so she is small.
So that's okay. In the room.
So it's not that she just doesn't want to, it's that she can't. And so I'm just sorry.
She probably would if she could.
She probably would. Yeah. She's look at her. She's trying to read. Yeah. So I just, right in the beginning, I was like, oh man, someone's going to be like, what's wrong with her? Nothing's wrong with her.
What's wrong with
Nothing is wrong with her. She's anointed as a short queen. All right, come on.
Amen.
No, but go ahead.
No, something I was gonna say is it's interesting because I remember in the first podcast we recorded, you said something that I said to you recently, because you were just saying, you know, like as you stepped into ministering to other people, so the Lord was doing things in you. And I told this to Aitza recently, like I quoted you like the Bible. I was like, you said to me,
please quote the Bible.
Please don't.
you were like, you told me that there's a different type of access that the Lord has to your heart when you're ministering to other people. And I think that it's something that like we find all the time because, you know, when you're pouring out so much, there's a different access the Lord has to your heart. And I think it's because, you know, you're learning not the Lord's love for yourself, but you're learning it for other people. And then in turn, you like learn it for yourself.
Yeah.
That's so good. That's so good. So I wanted to ask you guys, because one of the main reasons why we started this podcast is because as friends, we would have these conversations all the time, right? And so we're like often, I mean, multiple times a week would be like, bro, let's just get the mics on and let's record, right? And so we like one thing that we like that is kind of like a foundation for our podcast is that like Christ-like friendship brings a lot of fruit, right? And that's what Psalm 1 talks about. And so I want to ask you guys about like your friendship, you know, because I know like finding like really good friends is very hard, you know, especially as a Christian, friends that care about the things that are important in life, like mission and preaching and the gospel and like all those different things, right? And so I know that like, you know, we've made mention that you guys are like similar to like kind of our dynamic a little bit, you know. I'm sure you fight. I'm sure that you like get in arguments. I'm sure that you like have great days.
We never fight.
I see you guys.
It.
Oh, yeah. Jeez. I feel like people see it from the camera too, like it's tense. But I see you guys be like super special, like friends to each other by like caring for each other on your birthdays and stuff like that. So tell me a little bit about so I'll say this and then I'm gonna ask you this question. So I have seen the unity I have. Some of the people I love most in life are the people that I've served God with the most.
That's
right.
Good.
And so tell me a little bit about that. Like how has the mission field like enabled this friendship, and then like what like how does it bless you? Like,
yeah, for sure.
And tell me honestly, what it's like.
I love this question. Do you want to go first?
No, you go ahead.
So anyway, Actually, when I met Emily, like she was the only person in the internship I had no idea about. Like I knew that she was coming, but I had priorly met everyone.
I also came a semester after the internship started.
Yeah.
So everybody had already kind of lived in the house together. So when I came,
Kind of like an outsider a little bit.
Yeah, I only really
remember that,
knew one person, but like, yeah, that's kind of how it was. So I didn't really know anybody yet.
Yeah, so like when she came in, like the first time I had ever saw her was at literally as soon as she walked inside the door. And I was like, okay, like she's short.
I was about to say, no,
She's
what you
tiny.
did is you
That was
saw
the
her
first
walk through
thing
the
that
door
crossed
and
your
you
mind.
went,
No, literally.
Are you
like,
lost?
are
No.
you, hi honey, are you okay? You're like, stop it, I'm a grown woman.
That's funny.
It was so funny. But yeah, like honestly, like when she was like talking, like she sounded, I say this all the time, but I'm like, this white girl's really ghetto. Like, I'm so,
Are you
like,
for real?
I'm telling you, like the way that you,
Never.
I feel like she tones down her ghetto around us.
okay,
I
maybe
have
she does
never.
because like she came in
Really?
like really like, because I grew up in New Jersey, like people super ghetto. Like she was like on that level, and I was like, wow, she's pretty cool. Like I thought she was pretty cool.
Of course, she's ghetto.
Do you guys not see
I
that
have
sign?
never seen the Emily that's ghetto.
my
But
I was
Can I
I
please
feel
see
like
this?
I feel like her definition of ghetto is probably not like
Okay,
what you
okay.
guys
It's
are
like
so
a way,
clarify.
like
What
it's
is- what
way,
is this?
yeah.
It's
yeah,
just
yeah.
what she says, like how she says things. They're just ghetto. Like I can't. I don't even know how to explain it. She's
No,
like,
I feel you.
she bad. Like who said? Like I don't know. I can't explain it.
She
But
says that. Yeah, she says
It
that.
does say that.
no, for real. But
So
like
you thought she was short and ghetto.
Short
Yeah.
ghetto.
wow,
And
I'm
then
such a
ghetto
pretty
queen.
star.
yeah.
Short ghetto queen.
I didn't like him at the start. So
Yeah, we
this is-
hated
this
each
is
other.
No,
a-
yeah,
this
I
is a
just
good
I told her
start.
that story
Yeah, yeah,
yesterday.
yeah.
No, yeah. So yeah, and then like I don't know. I feel like because we already had our like not clicks because I don't like clicks, but she was like getting like closer to us, and I was like,
I was a new kid.
She's like getting too close to me, and I just met her, so I was like, but like I tell her all the time, she is so persistent, like in a lot of things, and like
Yes,
she
I
was
love it.
very persistent in that friendship. So I literally like it was a couple months into me knowing you, I was like, Emily, like what? How did I say it? I was like,
We were in line at Starbucks.
and I was
Sorry.
like,
I have so much pop culture in my head that I'm like quoting
Thinking
movies
of
in my head as
The
things are
Office.
happening.
Oh my
I'm thinking of
God.
New Girl. We've quoted New Girl so many times. I'm thinking
Yeah,
of the
yeah.
Biden. Like just be
Just
there.
Bidening. I'm
Just
just- I'm
be
just
there.
be here.
Yeah.
Just be there.
we
But-
were
Keep going.
no. We were in line for Starbucks, and she just looked at me. She was like, "You grew on me," and I was like,
did.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, I didn't know it was that hard for you, but
What am I?
sorry.
Shit? What am I?
no, honestly. But it was so funny because
Growth? Am I a mole?
it was so funny. I think like she can agree to it, but this marked our friendship because one time like something happened, we got into a huge argument. Like we were both done. Like I was already done. I'm like, I just met this girl. Like I don't have to like fight for this because I just met her. So then like I was done, but then she was also done too. And like once I saw that she shut out, like that broke my heart. And I was like, and I felt like the Lord was like really speaking to me, like saying that there was something so like so sacred about this friendship that we couldn't just like give up.
So what was the moment? What shifted in you?
It was when she gave up because I'm always so used to people like fighting for it that it's like I can give up and then you like are
You keep fighting for me. So
Yes.
what would you put your finger on? So she quit, but what was the thing that shifted in your heart?
when she quit, I was like, I don't know. I just felt something. I was like, nah, like the Lord was just speaking to me and he's like, you can't give up. Like, it was just so crazy. I don't know, like, what was your perspective about it?
I mean, yeah, we had just been, it was the end of the internship. So many things had happened. We were just arguing about something. And you went into that conversation like already.
I was already fired up.
She was already
I was
kind
like,
of.
I was, my ears were hot because I was so mad. Like, I was so mad.
But she kind of went into the conversation, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but you went into the conversation like, I'm going to walk away. Like, you're
Yeah,
like, I'm
for
going to walk
sure.
away. I'm going to be done with it. And like, if she chases after it, then whatever. But like, you went into it with the mindset of that. And I think you expected me to like chase you.
Yes, I did.
And I
did.
didn't. Because
Yeah.
I was just kind of like, you're like, I don't know what to do anymore. And I was like, yeah, me neither, man. Like, I don't know. It is what it is. And then you were like, no.
Yeah.
And then,
And again, like it was just something in my heart. And it was crazy. Like fast forward the summertime, like after we were like kind of better and stuff like that. That's when our pastor had messaged us like, hey, there's an apartment like for Puerto Rico. You guys can like have the room. But
we
you
were
would
home
just,
at that point too.
You would just
Like,
lead the interns. And I was like, this is why. I was like, there's no way that we could have led 2 interns coming into Puerto Rico without us like going through what we went through and stuck together.
Yeah.
Because like the way that we love each other, like we want to be that example to like the girls that come in.
Can I ask you a question real quick?
Yeah, for sure.
Why is girl friendship so hard?
I think okay. I think it's because we get intimidated by other girls. Because it's like we compare. So it's like, even like at the gym, I'm telling you, I'm at the gym. There's this girl I never saw. And we kept eyeing each other because she was looking at my workouts. I was looking at hers. And I think it's just like girls are
push
so
things, bro.
I think we intimidate each other.
Kind of like territorial a little bit.
Yeah.
So I was gonna say, do you think it's a line of, because I feel like as you were talking about your friendship, that beginning, I think it comes down to humility is
Right.
what checked in you of like that little process of like, wait a minute. Maybe I'm not all this in a bag of chips that every single person's going to pursue me and want to be my friend.
Right.
Wait a minute. She's okay with walking away. So wait, this is something I do want. I want the preciousness. So you actually humbled yourself to say, no, wait. And so I feel like that's because him and I, one of our biggest prayers when we first went into ministry was actually for our wives to find a best friend and someone that they could like connect with in ministry and like things like that.
I wasn't even really praying for that. I know you were praying that.
Yeah,
for Steph.
because
I wasn't
moved,
even really.
you know,
like,
I was moving from everything she knew to a place that, you know, a city that she's never been around. And so like literally the day, you know, they met, I was like, this could be the answer to prayer that like I've been praying for her. But I remember even watching their dynamic, like just the I can't even say the social, I'll say social cues of like seeing it's almost like you step on eggshells. Like women almost walk in this way of like seeing if they can respect each other and
Right.
honor each other
Well,
and like
something
value
that I see
each
a
other.
lot, and I talked to Tara a lot about this with Stephanie. I'm like, honey, because you and I'm really grateful for this, bro. I feel like you and I can like pretty much tell anything to each other.
Yeah.
We won't be at each other's throat.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we'll go, you know, and then like it'll take a few days, and then we're like chill and like,
Or we come home and we see each other and we go,
Yeah.
I love you.
Hey,
You idiot.
or my favorite is when your kids are playing together on the
Right,
playground.
right.
But
And
you
I'm
guys
sitting
just
there
had
and
a
I'm
fight
like,
and you're
oh,
like,
well, she's cute.
Yeah. I love your boy. I want to give him a noogie.
But something that like I observe a lot with like female friendships, and I feel like this is unavoidable once you live, because girlfriends rarely live together.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Right.
So
so it's different.
so I have a question for you. Okay. So first of all, I want to say I think one of the things that I see most in girl friendship is that there's kind of like a fake keeping of the peace, and then there's not like real conversations, right? And so I want to ask you this question. So what do you think was since having those real conversations is so hard, what do you feel like was the moment for you guys that you had to go past like this fake peace? Because I'm sure you had it at some point, this fake peace, into like, all right, now we actually see each other. We know what frustrates each other. Let's actually figure this out. Was there a moment like
And
that?
stop actually messing with each other.
I think genuinely it didn't, at least for me, it didn't come from moments where we were talking about our friendship. I think for me, like, the masks came off in real moments for both of us, like personally. So like for me, I like went through something in October that was like really, really hard for me. And like there was a moment where it was like, I don't know, it was like 2 a.m. and we were sitting in the bathroom, like on the floor, like having just like the most like vulnerable conversation. Like I felt like I was in a very vulnerable like position, you know, as I'm like sharing and saying things. And it was like, she sat there and like just took it, you know, and listened. And it was like, for me, that was a moment of like, dang, okay, like this is more than just like, oh, we're roommates, we live together, we do life together. It was like, there's something deeper, you know, you connect with people. And it's like when people, you know, are in the trenches with you, you know? And so I think for me, like that was a big moment. And then recently, like there was a moment where like she opened up to me about something, and it was just like, I feel like those two specific moments, like mine was the bathroom and hers was like a conversation that we had. I think like it we have conversations about our friendship and we like learn each other and we figure out like what bothers you in this, but I think that the moments where we had, it was different, like it was different conversations. It was like, hey, this is super personal to me, and then sharing it, and then it's like, oh, like it's, you're still there.
So how do you get to that point? Where's the point where you can actually be that real or that honest with someone? Again, you're building a friendship, right? You haven't known each other. You're not blood, so you're not stuck with her. You could just cut ties and dip. Where, how, number one, do you get to that point? And number two, what are some of the things that you personally can do to begin fostering that process of honest relationship and friendship? So either one of you, but
for sure. That's a great question. I honestly so on January 7th, that's going to be like a year that I met her, right? And like just recently was when I started like being more like vulnerable. And I think it's because she was showing me that she's there. And like, she knows it. This is my fear. Like I have a fear of being vulnerable with people or opening up and letting people in, because I've had friends that like were my people and they left. So I'm very like cautious with like who I speak to, but I think like living,
which is not a bad thing necessarily.
Yeah, for sure. But living in Puerto Rico, like, and like sharing the same space, like my home is my safe space. So it was because I wasn't there yet with her. Like I was like dealing.
Must be nice. No, it's hilarious because we're neighbors, and so I'm like, me too. And then I drive home, and I'm like, so he's literally there.
It's so funny because like literally we get in a powwow, we drive home, my house.
He has to pass
my house through his driveway. So literally I get home and then I see his car go by and I'm like,
we both look at each other and be like, some idiot.
So your home is your safe space.
Yeah, it's my safe space.
But
so
I'm in your home now.
Exactly. So like I remember I was always dealing with things by myself. Like, and again, she knows this too, but I felt like our friendship was more like I'm there for Emily, whatever she needs. And like I tell her like, yeah, like pray for me for this, but nothing deep. So then it got to a point where like I was like alone and I was like, I had to like burst out, and she was always like saying, man, like, cause I normally things would happen and I'm like 3 months ago this happened, and she was still there.
Right.
And she's like, why didn't you tell me when it happened? I'm like, cause like mainly like it's so funny, but I tell her my source is the Lord. Like he's the person I go to first, which is like, yeah, that's good, but like he's giving me community too. So anyway, like this hard conversation that we recently had, like, man, I went in like so fearful because I didn't know if she was gonna leave. I didn't know if she was gonna like, you know, act like what my mind thought she would. But then she stood, you know, she sat with me. Like it was hard for me to speak, and like she just sat there patiently waiting. And it was like that moment for me was like I was like so grateful for her, because that moment changed our friendship.
That's awesome.
Well, and I think like I don't see friendships be like I really think that you can't like somebody so much that you never fight with them.
No.
There's something wrong with that. You know what I mean? Sure. Because like the reality is, I mean, even my wife, like she is the most beautiful person I've ever met. And like we have issues, you know what I mean? Because, but the reason why we do is because we're open enough and honest enough to like share what we don't like, set boundaries about things that are important to us, like healthy relationship. And because I think that those are the things that make relationships last long. You know what I mean? And I think one of the reasons that I think women will have like a friend and then like they don't no longer have that friend is because they are so afraid of that discomfort, of that uncomfortable conversation that is like the defining moment of whether this keeps going or it doesn't, and then they like shy away from it. They're like, nope, I'm not having that.
And this is what's crazy. In the podcast with Tang, he said it wasn't distance that separated them, but it was silence. And that like struck me. And that's when I started to like, man, Emily's like here. So like even if she leaves, which like that was one of my fear, but like she said that she's there, I'm like, man, I have to be vulnerable no matter what, because like like this is how I can have peace, because it's like God is giving me people. Why am I not using
Well,
them?
and so I think of two scriptures, two moments. So first is actually James 5, and it's James 5:16. And so there are contexts of it. You know, James is talking directly, specifically to elders about like going to your elders and being healed, right? But there's a scripture in it that he talks about specifically. It says, "Therefore, confess your sins to one another and pray for one another that you may be healed. The prayer of a righteous person has great power as it is working." And then on top of that, my pride used to dig into myself that I'm part of a body, but I don't need people. I'm part of the bride, but I don't need people. And then the Lord humbled me in the picture that if Jesus, the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, brought 12 people along with him, 12 people, 10 of his own creation, 12 friends that he called them friends. Right, loved ones, right? And he said, you know, who would it be? I would lay down my life for my friends, right? And so sometimes I feel like most believers, I feel like we get caught up in the fact that we love Jesus. We make that line, he's my everything.
Yeah.
But we're unwilling to be vulnerable to people because we're afraid. In the vulnerability is actually where there's healing. But we're afraid to become vulnerable because actually in the vulnerability, we are showing a wound that someone could jam their hand into. And in reality, in the vulnerability is actually when this begins to heal. When we confess and we walk into that process, that wound can then begin to heal to become a scar. But without people, if Jesus showed the example that he, and you can debate and be like, well, he didn't need them, right? It's like, well, but you know what's really interesting? Those are the 12 people that when he was in the Garden of Gethsemane, he said, pray for me.
That's good.
My Savior asked someone else to pray for him.
Yeah.
He had direct connection to the Lord and he said, will you pray for me?
Well, I think he said pray with me, right? Like I say pray with me. We can look it up. We always do this.
I know he did both. I know he said pray with me and then he also prayed pray for me.
Because I know that like
and then pray for yourself.
Right, because he was telling Peter that temptation was coming. So look it up so we can take a peek at it. But I think part of the problem with friendship is that people are honestly they're very lazy in friendship, and what I mean by that is they are like people don't want to have to work for good things. You know what I mean? And it's and it's the same thing with like marriage, right? Like people just expect they're gonna get married and then like marriage is gonna be great because you chose a really good person. And it's like everybody's filled with sin. Like we're all, and even if it's not sin, like even if Joey and I just like think differently, having to go through the inconvenience of bearing somebody else's opinion. You know what I mean? Like the fact that I just have to be around somebody else's opinion, like there's a part of my brain that goes, I don't need that. Like I can just go on my own and not have that opinion. But having that opinion around, like one makes me a better person. And I wouldn't even define it as a better person, but I just feel like when you endure the inconvenience of friendship, let's call it the inconvenience of friendship, right?
I like that.
Because it's a gift. And it can be inconvenient, just like ministry is, right? Like you can you remember times when you're like, oh, gosh, do I have to minister right now? Like this is so inconvenient, you know? The inconvenience of friendship teaches you what grace practically actually looks like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's really easy to give grace to somebody that like you see one time, you know? Oh, this person said something rude at the coffee shop. Cool, grace. The grace that's hard to give is ongoing grace. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like ongoing grace, like I'll tell you, like ongoing grace for this guy, I don't feel, because he feels the exact same way about me. So I do not say this as a lie. This has become one of the greatest tests of my Christianity.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
I agree too.
And I can tell you, it's not because
cool.
it's not because he's a bad person.
Yeah.
In fact, I wouldn't invest into our friendship as much as I do if I thought the opposite. So I know it's not the quality of the person.
Yeah.
It's just the inconvenience of friendship that like it tests my patience. And by my patience, I don't mean he is annoying. I mean, I'm impatient. I mean, I'm impatient.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to deal with an extrapolated amount of time to get somewhere. I want to do it quicker, you know? and
I want to ruffle all the trees and I need to clean out this bush and get rid of it. Yeah. Let's not just talk about it and do it. Pull it up real quick. Why are we uprooting this tree that has produced fruit? Now, let's actually prune it and let's deal with it so it can heal properly, whatever it might be. Yeah. And so you're right. It's actually the time Jesus didn't actually ask him to pray for him in that time. I thought it was this moment that he asked him to like pray for me. But he actually says, pray that you may not enter into temptation. And then I thought it was the second time when he said, will you pray for me? It actually says, why are you sleeping? It's actually really interesting. I've never read. That's why I love the word. It's from Luke. I got to read it. I just got to read the scripture. It says, Father, if you're willing to remove this cup from me, nevertheless, not my will, but yours be done. And there appeared to him an angel from heaven, strengthening him. And being in agony, he prayed more earnestly. And his sweat became like drops of blood falling down to the ground. And when he rose from prayer, he came to the disciples and found them sleeping for sorrow. And he said to them, why are you sleeping? Rise and pray that you may not enter into temptation. So I thought he spoke that, that I may get through this. But
and that's not to minimize like your point that like Jesus, I really think Jesus needed friendship. In fact, Jesus left his mom to John.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like,
this is your son and this is your mother.
So that's crazy, right? Like he like actually leaned into one of his friends and his disciples and left his mother. And like
he calls them his friends.
Yeah.
The King of Kings literally says like, you're my friends at the supper.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Like you just
that's crazy.
Yeah.
No, it reminds me of Ruth too. Like the loyalty of Ruth of like staying with her mother-in-law even after like her husband passed away. Like I read that one night, I think we were in my room and I was like, dang, like that's so crazy. Like the necessity of like staying around certain people and being faithful. It's like
who are you loyal to? Like if you're watching this right now, like who are you undyingly loyal to? Not because you worship them, not because they're the source of your affirmation, but like who are you loyal to in a way that like tests like all the earthly things about you? You know what I mean? Like that tests your desire to be right, that tests your desire to shut people out and not talk to them,
or belittle yourself, to be, because he's had to course correct me on belittling myself because I'm like the worst critic of my own self, and he'll shake me. He's like, "What do you stop?" Like it's it's funny. I think it's New Girl. He's like, "Stop being mean to my friend," and he's like,
but it's you,
and that's me because I can believe in just about anyone. Like literally give me a squirrel and I'll believe in it. That will change the world. But like me looking in the mirror, I'm like, yeah, but that guy's because I know the darkness of my own soul. And so it's like all those things. So I'm like, Lord, I'm constantly trying to bring the darkness into the light, into the Lord. But sometimes I forget that I'm not the man that I once was, that I'm not the person that in this world, all these things. And I am the righteousness of the Lord and all these things. And so I could bury myself in that insecurity and get ticked off at my friends that, they just don't see me. Or am I actually being vulnerable enough to tell them and allow them to speak into me, that I may have ears? We were talking about this in the car. Actually have ears to hear from them. Not just like, they're talking, but actually like listen to their words for my own life. So then I could be inspired and to continue to move forward for everything that God has for me. Because that's one of my most difficult things is I can inspire other people, but I struggle inspiring myself. Yeah. And so I got to have people that fan my flame because I feel like I fan other people's. And then it's like,
we need all of it too. Like we need encouragement, but we also need people to check us, man.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like I mean, with like Joey, like, bro, like the amount of stuff that I realized, I'm like, the other day we were joking, we're driving out of Costco and he said something. I'm like, would you stop being around and pointing out the stuff that I'm like, but I was saying joking, because it's true. Like, it's just like, because now people have access, you know what I mean? So let me ask you this question. So
I just remember that moment. Yeah. You were I have to say this. He was getting mad at people in Costco being in a rush. Yet
I rushed the Target.
As he was rushing to Target to go get a gift for someone.
I'm like, would you shut up?
And I was like, the comment you just made, you're literally doing right now. He's like, will you stop being so close to me and knowing me? I'm like, no.
So let me ask you this. So why do you feel like, and I'm asking you in the context of girl friendship, because I do wonder about it a lot. There are a lot of times, I mean, even with Stephanie, like I don't mind like saying this, where I'm like, I tell Tara, I'm like, have you told her that? And then like we never really like go further in the conversation, because I just feel like women are so afraid of that.
Which is very different.
And it's like for a lot, and that's not to say that you need to bring everything up. Right,
for
because
sure,
like you also need to have quiet grace. Like, you know, hey, like I know there are some things Joey always does. There are some things I always do. You know what I mean? And it's like I know we already just have quiet grace.
Right.
Like it doesn't. We don't have to bring it up anymore. Like I just know my boy struggles with that, and I'm gonna love him through it, and I don't even have to bring it up.
Wait,
and then
can
same thing.
Can I add?
Yeah.
This is so funny because it's like an insider with like me and Emily. Like, so before she used to always bring things up, even the littlest of like if we argue about the TV remote. Like she comes later, Aitza, the TV remote like 2 hours ago. I'm so sorry. I'm like, Emily, like you don't have to bring it up. And I asked her, I was like, your siblings, like when you argue about stupid things, like you love each other no matter what. And I was like, we're like sisters. Like you don't have to.
girl.
So every time she comes up, I'm like, give me the TV remote. Like always bring it up. But it's very true. Like not a lot of things you have to speak about.
Yeah. And
No,
I think part of it is that like sometimes we are insecure about our friendships, and so we don't.
Yeah,
like
we were just talking about like that, like how like people can be insecure about how like somebody else feels about them, so they like act a certain way, and it's like
you over apologize and you don't act like, because
Yeah.
ultimately I think God's goal is that would be act like brothers and sisters, like literally family, like what you just mentioned, and siblings are like siblings have this longevity that like
fight and then
you just like
20
move
minutes
on.
later you're at McDonald's together,
Right,
like,
and, like,
it's
that's
like
just
normal.
because you're not giving yourself a chance to not be family. Like it's just that's just what you are, you know.
And it's in an honorable way. It's not that I'm stuck with you, but it's actually I'm choosing to be stuck with you.
Yeah.
I'm
No,
actually
this is the thing.
choosing to be with you.
This is the thing. Based on biblical truth, I am stuck with you.
You are stuck with me for all eternity.
Do you understand that?
You're literally
like we
stuck
are
with me.
literally
That
a
sounds
body.
so intense.
I'm gonna-
We are a body. So
for
it's
all
so
of eternity.
I have made, so this is hilarious. I have made comments to people that said that they're like, I love God, but I hate the church. Be like, well, you know, you're kind of stuck with them for all eternity. That's the bride of Jesus. Like that is,
Yeah.
and you
one is
can't,
the body
you
of
can't
Jesus.
love
It's like
that's,
Jesus, I love your head, but I hate your foot.
Yeah, or
Very
it would
true.
be
Yeah.
even crazier, where it would be like me saying I love you, Alejo, but I hate Tara. And
But you guys- but
it's
him and
that
Tara are
extreme.
one.
They're one,
Right,
right?
and I'd be like-
so you're like, what do you mean? You can't love me and not love her.
Exactly.
Now,
First of all,
again-
why do you hate my wife?
Right. But
Right?
but now again, we
I mean,
could
like,
have
imagine
a
God, like, from-
dislike. You could have a I'm uncomfortable with her, or I don't
Okay.
feel a connection to her. Right. But that's now our problem, not our problem. Right. And so in reality, like I'm stuck with that bride for eternity. So in reality, in this connection with, again, I'm not calling you Jesus, but in this connection with Jesus, you can be, the pastors hurt me, leaders have hurt me, people have hurt me, people that confess Jesus have hurt me. Like, absolutely, we all hurt people. This is just what the game
Yeah,
is,
that's
right?
what happens.
But in reality, I can't hate the church or hate the bride and love Jesus in the same hand. Like I can't do that. It's one or the other. Like I either am all for the Lord or I'm not. And many times I feel like we get caught up in that aspect of like, well, they're just annoying, or I've literally heard people say, I just really hope my mansion's nowhere near their mansion. And I'm like, so I literally go, I'm like,
Guess what God's gonna do?
dude, no
one gets a mansion.
No, you ready?
No, he's gonna be like, yep, right there. I'm gonna move him into your mansion.
Right. But no, the comment that internally in me, I go like, so the Lord's Prayer that Yeshua shows us how to pray, that you would forgive us as we forgive other people. That level, that's what the word says. I'm like, Lord, and again, I've battled with bitterness, insecurity, and all these things too, like in those realms. But in reality, the thought process, I like, okay, I may not gotta get along with you entirely, Emily. Okay, that doesn't mean I need to be bitter against you.
Yeah,
it doesn't mean I need to be uncomfortable with you. Now, again, him and I can be friends and maybe completely different. Now, again, I don't have to be best friends with him, but I also don't have to be a jerk to him. Like in reality, like just because the hand doesn't understand what the mouth's job is, doesn't mean you can get ticked off at each other. The hand's job is something very specific, as the mouth is, as the ear is, as the eye is. And we can get so ticked off at each other. But in reality, if we come back to understanding each other, come back to seeking to understand, as you guys like, wait, why does she's so vulnerable with me? Why am I not?
Right.
Why am I struggling through this? Why can I not
And now
be
you
vulnerable?
actually start scrutinizing yourself, which is a good thing. You know?
Well, it's called the audit. You start auditing yourself, and you're like, wait a minute, why am I? Do I think she's lesser than me?
Right.
Oof. Do I think that I'm higher leadership than her? Oof. Because I've been in that, and I've been in that.
Christians that have nothing to confess because they think that this
Yeah.
is true. This is real, man.
Yeah.
This is real.
I think with ministry too, like it's
ministry is
so
a fun one.
important
Ministry is
because
a
I
fun
think
one.
we got to a point where we realized like yes, we're friends, and yes, there's things we need to work on, but it's like, okay, now we're living with interns, so this isn't something that affects us. This is something that is going to be reflected on people that we're leading.
Come on.
And especially,
Come on.
especially, I think
Ouch.
like
Man,
living, but like it's different too, because like, but like we live with them, so
Right.
it's like
they
when.
see everything.
Yeah, so when you live with people, everything falls through the cracks. So whether we try to hide something or not, I'm sure that like there's been moments where like something has happened, and like I'm sure they've been like something's weird.
Oh, absolutely.
But it's like,
just like just like kids do with parents.
exactly,
Just like you've seen us. You've seen us go into stuff and you're like, oh,
Hope
what
to
is going
figure
on?
it
You're like,
out.
I'm going to go
This is
sit
really
over here.
in the
uncomfortable.
backseat of the car, like
Right. But then you also see, then you actually also see the remedy of it. And
Exactly.
you see the humility
And that's
of
healthy.
the person going, I'm wrong. Or you see the pride in someone and then the other person being willing to show grace as they live in pride.
Yeah.
Because that's the realness of friendship.
Right.
Yeah.
You are going to, I have seen him lived in pride as he has seen me live in pride.
Yeah.
I've seen him live in humility as he has seen me live in humility. He's seen me live in
We
insecurity.
call the best out of each
Oh
other
my-
and the worst out of each other.
That's
and
good.
so like, and that's just, that is that what I believe, again, iron sharpening iron. It
Yeah.
is not pretty. Iron is clanging. Iron is sparks. Like
Yeah.
I want sparks. And that's really weird and hard to say. Like, I don't like, yes, there's melody and beauty as you shape a beautiful sword, but in reality, there's heat, there's pressure, there's tension, there's sharp, like there's tings, there's loud noises. I don't want a friendship that's clay. Because clay will dull my sword.
Oh, we often do.
I want, and
we
now
often
clay
do.
is
Yeah.
easy to cut through.
It's easy.
Oh, clay is easy to cut through. I feel like the Lord is just like, listen, a friendship that you can cut through stuff and you're just like, I cut them and I walk away. That's easy. Like, that is so easy. But I need friendships and relationships in general. We need to be willing to have sparks. We need to be willing to have sharpness because iron sharpening iron is the betterment of both of us. But if I have a friend that's clay, you don't go and tell them you're clay. I've been in that world. Again, I've been in ministry school. I've been in the missionary world where I've literally had people be like, they're clay for me.
Well, you
Like,
know-
then that's pride for you because you're living in pride. Like anyone, if a donkey can speak to a prophet and they can be saved. If a bush can show up and say, yo,
Yes.
bro, you're a miracle to a nation. Like there's many things that the Lord speaks in different ways in different places. If we are not humble enough, and this is where it comes into our own self-checking. It's not about how you decide to live, right? As Emily was continuing to reveal and be vulnerable to her, her responsibility is her own heart. As your responsibility is your own heart.
Right.
You are going to stand before God based on how you lead, not how she leads. You're going to take on responsibility how she has led the intern. Like, no, you're not going to do that, right? Like that's
Yeah.
not. Like you're not going to be rolled up and God goes, all right, Emily and I need you both standing here. No,
Right.
He's going to say,
Yeah.
I need you standing here, and that's it.
That's good.
It's a conversation. This is you, and that's where the leadership, the friendship, like sometimes, especially in ministry, we as humanity start blurring these lines, and we start getting into this just shakiness, and again, it's comfortable friendship is not always the right friendship.
That's good.
That's really
Comfortable friendship is not always the right friendship.
Well, and you
Some
have
of
to
my-
define what friendship is. Like,
Yes.
I
Yep.
think like one thing that I continue to see in like the church is really, really sad is that people surround themselves with just people that agree with them, you know,
And they look like
whatever
them.
that is. And it's like this is, you can have one or two things. Okay. You can have people in your life who know you deeply, who know your issues and know your strengths and encourage you and check you and correct you. And it's work and it's inconvenient and you're going to have less quote unquote earthly peace, but more heavenly peace.
yeah.
Or, and there's going to be less of those, by the way.
Right.
Very few people like that in your life.
That's good.
Or you can be surrounded by a bunch of people who don't really know you, who don't really have access to you, who have an idea of you. But guess what? When crap hits the fan, they're also not going to be there for you.
Yeah.
Right.
You know? And like you and you're going to continue to be this fluffy version of who you're actually meant to be. Like all the
You're going to be a big chunk
all
of
the
ore instead of a
excess,
beautiful
right.
sword. That's the Lord is.
all the excess won't be cut off because you're going to be surrounded by a bunch of comfortable, like they're not edges. They're just cushy. What is what do you think is the thing that women are the most afraid of when it comes to real friendship?
Again, I think it's like opening up.
Just vulnerability. And so let me ask you about that. So because you mentioned something like you were concerned that Emily was going to leave, right?
Yeah.
Are you concerned, or have you been concerned? You think women are concerned with like wasting their vulnerability, like sharing, and then like it doesn't.
At least for me, yeah. Because the thing is, I've been through it. Like I've been through it multiple times. So it's like the more like people out there like that I've opened up to, they know my information. Like they're out. So it's like not that like it was anything that it was like super super sacred to me, but it's like, man, I give you like all of me. Like I opened up to you, and then you're not here. So it's like I just don't. And like we talk about this all the time, and this was our conversation last night. But like I just don't want to open up to more people when like I'm like I was telling Emily, I'm already 26. The people that I have is the people that I have. But then she was like convicting me a lot because she's like, man, like you're a missionary. Like you're gonna she says it all the time, like you are allowed to be transparent with everybody but not vulnerable with everybody. And I think like the Lord is softening my heart with like building community in every season of my life. Because if I like didn't open up to her and the people that I have in Puerto Rico, it would have been so much harder, so much harder. And I remember like, because we're living out of home, we're like embarking like the Lord's plan over our life. It's very hard. And I think like to have people that get it, like that get it, and they're doing it with me, and like they understand. Like, I don't know. I think like it's just I'm so grateful to have people that I can open up to now.
So do you feel like one of the reasons why it's hard to open up, because you mentioned like them leaving, but you also hit something that I feel like men also can relate with, and it's, do you feel like one of the reasons why it's like a little bit of an insecurity is actually because they have the opportunity to hurt you?
Yeah.
Like with that information,
sure.
right?
Yeah, which I never.
Well,
like,
not information, but like they have you've portrayed a piece of your soul,
right, for sure,
and you're now saying like, hey, like maybe either reciprocate, show me a piece of your soul, or you're just like, take care of this part of me.
Yeah.
But now that they're not close to you, you're like, so what are you doing with that piece of soul?
There's an element that you can't control,
right?
Yeah.
And it's
so
like
it's like you're taking your hand off of something, and somebody else has it. So
Yeah.
it's like.
And I guess like I would say as like a safe person, you know what I mean? Like I found security in people. So it's like, because like at one point it was just me and the Lord, like that was my right hand, like that was my best friend. And then like, you know, like again, the Lord is blessing me with a community of people who get it and like who are willing to sit with me while I'm like stumbling over my words at like 12 o'clock at night, because like I was dealing with something and like I needed to say it, you know? And I think like that's something, again, Emily, like, man, I honor you guys a lot, because she remembers every little thing that you tell her, and everything that you guys have ever poured into her, she pours into me. Like, and I love it a lot. But I think one thing that she that she was showing me was like, man, a lot of the times like I hurt her with what I said because I was going through something, and like I was dealing with myself. So when I started to like, man, Emily, like this is the root to why I'm saying this, can you please like be there for me? And like she was there, like and never fails to be there. Like anytime like something happens, I literally like before we left Puerto Rico, I had a conversation. It was a hard conversation. I went straight up to her, Emily, I don't want to get in my head for this, can you please like listen to me? And I sat down, I told her, and then she just gave me advice, and I was like, okay, I feel better. So it was like, even like finding security in that, and like not letting it get to a point where it's like I'm dealing with it by myself, like I'm in my head. She was there, she poured into me, you know?
Can I share something? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I think too, something that because you guys are asking about like women friendships, but I think something I've seen a lot like in high school and like stuff like that, I saw more girls like giving themselves to guys. So I feel like in a way, when guys would, you know, it would be one guy after the other, they were searching for security, and to everybody around them, it's very obvious, like kind of what's happening. And so I think a lot of times when they have friendships with girls, I saw a lot of competition and almost the same pattern that they've had with guys. So the same pattern that they had with the guy of like, oh, they're with this guy, right? And then he probably just wants something out of her. When he gets it, he leaves. But then it's the same pattern of their friendships with girls where like, and I mean, you guys have seen it in my life. You've seen me be close to certain people and then it drops. You've seen me, and then it's like this pattern of this similar, like it's similar how it was with guys, but it's like this pattern of like, okay, you're competing, you get something out of them. When you don't, you leave. And I think like it's sad that right. Like, I think that's a very high school thing too. That's a very like immature type
I think,
of.
I'll be honest with you. I think that's just a human thing, Emily, because I think that we are apart from Christ, especially apart from Christ, right?
We seek from other
we
people.
seek to get validation and things like from other people. And I'll tell you, I wanted to tell you, like, well, I want to confess one thing I want to share with you guys, because I think this is important for me to share with you. Friends are allowed to fail us.
Yeah.
That's tough.
Yeah.
That's tough.
And so I wanted to share with you, because this week I actually had a very emotional conversation with a friend, and like this person sat in front of me and like told me like, I wish you would have been there when I really needed you, you know, and you weren't, you know, and you know, we don't most people, unless you're a sociopath or just like a sociopath. Most people don't start their day thinking, I'm really going to hurt Aitza today.
Right.
You know, most people just have so many personal issues, they end up hurting you. Or they're so distracted with their lives, they end up failing you. Or they're so busy with XYZ that they end up not responding to you, right? So like, for example, this friend that I was talking to this week, this is like a very, very close friend of mine, and they are going through the hardest thing they've ever gone in their lives. And you know, it's a complex thing, because I felt like I tried to be there, but I wasn't, and I didn't respond, and it wasn't as available as I should have been. And so I really hurt this person. And but I think, and we talked about this with the podcast with Tang, is that true vulnerability is giving people a chance to hurt you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Right.
I think what we want out of friendship is, I'm going to share with you, but don't you dare fail me. Don't you dare, because if you do, then this whole friendship thing truly is a farce. It's fake. It's not real. It's not true. But that's not friendship. Like real friendship is like real friendship is just something different, you know?
Yeah.
So I just want to encourage you with that, because
For sure.
because I think that's one of the reasons why we're sparing with our vulnerability. We're like, I'm not going to share a whole lot because I'm really afraid for this person to hurt me. And I feel like if God would give us just the security and the peace to know people are going to hurt us and people are going to fail us. And one day Emily might move away, you know, or one day God might call her to Nepal, you know what I mean? And I want to encourage you and tell you, like,
Not prophecy.
anything that you invest into godly friendship is not wasted.
That's good. That's
You know what I
good.
mean? Like, it's
Right.
not wasted.
And
So
I think something I was telling her last night, because we were having that conversation about when she was saying, oh, okay, I'm like 26, like I don't want to open up to anybody else. I was just kind of like, dang, like I understood what she was saying, but at the same time in my head, I was like, don't ever disqualify yourself from something that could be a good thing in the future just because you feel that way now. Because it's like, genuinely, I'm not saying that I'm leaving, you know what I mean? But it's like one day we're probably not going to be living together. You know what I mean? Like,
well, especially if those vows you make are birthed not out of God but out of hurt.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
for
Because a
sure.
lot of times we do that. You know,
for
we
sure.
like, for example, I tell people, oh, I used to say I'm never gonna miss my kid's soccer game. And the reason why I said that is because my dad wasn't there for my soccer games, right? So there are these vows, these things that we say about life to guard ourselves, to protect ourselves. You know,
Right.
but
and
it
it's
came
like,
from a hurt place. It didn't come from a place of
Right.
Or
like,
you're going to end up
purity.
hurting someone in the process, or even
hurting
yourself,
yourself,
or
Right.
you're going to hurt, because again, there's certain expectations expectations you will never be able to live up to. You know, like I mean, as simple as this, which is funny. We were just talking with Joel Myers about this. Like in reality, death is a 99.99999% thing other than Enoch, Jesus, and Elijah. Like those three, right? Like everyone else
Jesus
is
actually died. So
yeah,
so
right.
actually too.
Technically, he did die, but he came back. You're right. 99.99% with only 2 people that did it, and then he resurrected. He's got 100% resurrection rate.
I'm jealous of Elijah.
Right? And got taken up in a chariot of fire. But
He's like out.
Yeah, I'm deuces. But like that alone, if we come into the realisticness that like death is real,
right,
which means that people are going to leave us.
Right.
It actually allows us to step into it. If you can take a breath, it actually allows you to take into a step into the friendship and take into the breath that like, I'm going to take every moment that I can with this friend. And however long the Lord has, my dad said something to me one day about his friend. He hasn't seen, and my dad doesn't have a lot of close friends, but he has a friend from, I think he said 30 years ago. He was like, he would consider it his best friend. He hasn't seen him in 30 years. And the last time he saw him, they said something. And I've said this to a couple people. I said, he's like, if I don't see you any more time here, I know I'll see you. Right. And just how my dad said that and shares it. He's like, I haven't seen my best friend in 30 years, but I know that if I don't see him anymore on this side, I know where I'll see him.
Yeah.
So it's never wasted.
And it's never wasted. And so it's a picture of like, even though this time, this withering grass that we live, this just wind, you know, we're just here and gone, right? I'm going to enjoy where I'm at presently. I'm going to enjoy the people the union and the yoking that I get to be around. Like I'm going to enjoy this, and I'm not going to be so concerned about all left, right, up, down. Like I'm just, okay, hey Lord, does this person need to be in my life right now? Or Lord, will you continue to open the doors? And if this friendship needs to continue, it needs to continue, or close it, slam it, right? Or just shimmy it. Like I have some of my best friends that I was so close to, and their decisions slammed a door. And I went, God, like, man, Lord, like they decided to go there. That makes no sense.
Yeah.
And they went that route. And then I'm like, okay, Abba, who maybe the season's shifting.
Yeah.
Friendships are shifting.
Yeah. And also like, it's so crazy because this is a question that I'm asking myself. Like, how do you like stop being not like the words of stop being friends, but how do you continue living your life without any beef with somebody? Because it's like those friendships.
That's
like
good.
Yeah,
that's a
because
great
it's like
question.
how do you end it like peacefully?
So the question is this: is the Lord telling you to end it or put it on the back burner?
But
because this is the question: my friend that chose to live a certain way, lived in sin, decided to go down that route, all of this stuff. I was living in bitterness. I would see his name pop up on my phone, had anger.
Right.
I had offense.
And it was a lot because if tell me if I'm wrong, it was obviously because you were disappointed.
I was disappointed.
But also because, and I think disappointment, if we could like redefine disappointment, I think sometimes sometimes we live in such a self-righteousness as Christians.
Yeah.
All right. So hear me out.
So
we live in such a self-righteousness as Christians that since we can't control the actions of another person and they are not living according to what we think they ought to live as, instead of living out the gospel for them, we make it about us. We make it personal. You know what I mean? So it's like, so I'll paint you a scenario, right? So let's say that you have a friend, say you have a girlfriend, right? Who like decides she's gonna go live with her boyfriend and like just quit the mission field, and they're just gonna go live in like a apartment, and they're pretty much married, right? So they're just gonna live like they're married, and so that's kind of the way that it starts, right? Well, you could go about it two ways, right? You can make it about yourself, and you can get really personally hurt about it, right? As if sin was about you, right? As if like your friend's sin had to do anything with you, right? But let's say you do, like say you just like take it very personally, and you're like, I can't believe you would do that. Like I'm just really angry at you for like doing blank. I'm living this out right now, by the way. And so your bitterness actually creates a wall that doesn't allow you to like live out the gospel for this person. You don't get to share grace with them. You don't get to forgive them. You don't get to show them Jesus. You don't get to live out love for them. Or you could recognize that people are in their own journeys, that they make decisions they make because of, sure, their own flaws, their insecurities, their own desire for sin, their own temptations. But at the end of the day, whether they sin or not, like, you're not the judge of their soul. Like that job is God's and God's alone. So then what you have to, so then you forgive and you release this person from your judgment, as if if we were to judge anyway, right? But like, and then maybe you give yourself the opportunity and the chance to be living grace for a person like that. And you know what I mean? And so like, I think
we can't fix for them.
Yeah,
you can't.
Yeah. So this is the beef is a great statement, because this is that statement, and that story is my story with one of my best friends that I grew up with. Is, you know, he decided to go that route. I was his accountability partner. I was graced to be the one to lead him to the Lord. Like, all these different things, many battles. I've known his story, his testimony, all these things, and he decided to live with someone and continue to decide that, you know, it was the right thing. And again, this was heartbreaking. But these was things I had to go through, to the point where he was one of my best friends, and like, I didn't stand in his wedding, like he wasn't part of mine, like things that, like, a friendship split, right? And there was a day that I had to come to realization that I was like, Lord, he may have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God, as I have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. I need to go and I need to repent for my sin.
Right.
And if he says sorry, cool. But that is not the reason for my meeting.
Right.
I'm going to repent for my own actions. So we sit at Starbucks and we have a very real conversation. And one of the things the Lord allowed me to have a revelation of, and to this day, it was very clear from that moment, was I told him, I was like, look, man, I love you so much, but I just want to let you know, your decision has affected our friendship. I love you. I pray for you. I'm for you. But our relationship is now going to be different because of this moment. And this took 3.5 years after everything. And we are good. We play games together every once in a while. And we love each other. I love him and his wife and like all this stuff. But I know, because of that decision, this is the thing, sin always breeds death. May not always breed death in the area you think, but it always breeds death. Right. And so I told them at that Starbucks, I'm like, man, I love you, but I just want to let you know, your sin breathe death into our best friendship. Now, I'm still your friend. I still love you. I'm still for you. But I just want to let you know, we may never have the connection that we used to have because of this thing. Right. But I pray one day we can. But I just want to let you know, the beef, this stuff that's happened, I need to put, I'm continuing down this direction towards the gospel. I'd love for you to join me. I'm here for you. I'm with you. I'm pushing. But I just want to let you know, like I'm always here. But I got to decide that I'm going to free myself. Bitterness and offense is drinking poison, expecting someone else to die. Failed expectations and unvoiced expectation is the brewing of that poison, is the creation of that poison. And the thing is that I had expectations on him because he was one of my best friends. He was an accountability partner. We actually agreed upon things, but now those expectations failed. So the poison was there. I started to drink the poison of bitterness and offense and hurt towards him. And now, did he fall short? Absolutely. But so did I. So I have to own up to, as again, I have a responsibility for Joseph Anthony Ruggiero III and no one else other than my wife and my child. Right. Like, that is what I have. And so in those moments of decisions, how do you live through life without having beef with people? Right. You have to decide that you're not going to live life with beef with people. And it is terrifying.
Well, the question is, how uncomfortable are you with beef? And that is a good sign of God's Spirit's, the Holy Spirit's jurisdiction in your life. If you are less comfortable with it, the less comfortable you are, the more your offense feels like you're sitting in literal poop, right? The uncomfortability of that. Right. Chances are, the more led by the Spirit you are, and the more comfortable you are with offense, the more you can just see somebody with apathy or with contempt,
and it can't be
and just
pride.
Be like, I really just, because this is the other thing that Christians do, right? Oh, I forgave them. I don't care anymore.
Forgiveness takes one, reconciliation takes two.
Yeah.
The Lord has called you to forgive.
Yeah.
He has not called you to be reconciled with everyone. Now he has called you to be in the ministry of reconciliation.
Right.
But he has not every single friendship, every single person, like that stuff. Like, again, we're the bride of Christ. Like, we are the bride of Christ.
Well, the Bible says this, though. The Bible says that you ought to live with peace as long as it's in your power.
Come on.
Okay,
Come on.
so this is the thing, is that, you know, a lot of Christians, because this is the other issue I have with that statement. It's not that it's a false statement, is that Christians
They live in it.
will
They
grab
stay
a
there.
statement and actually hide their sin behind a statement.
100%.
Right? So
That's what I mean by pride.
Yeah.
That's what I mean
So
by
for
pride.
example, I forgive, but I'm not reconciled. Okay, well, wait a minute. If they came right now, would you be reconciled?
Right. Have you made effort?
If it was up to you right now, have you made every effort, everything that's under your power to live in peace with this person, right?
The word of God, that says, if you are in worship, and you remember a brother has an offense against you, go lay your sacrifice at the altar, go handle it with your brother, and then come back.
Yeah.
It doesn't say, it doesn't even say that you're offended. It says you remember he's hurt or she's hurt at you.
That's good.
When I got saved, I apologized to every girl I had been a jerk to, and that I had taken stuff that I shouldn't have taken from. Did I have to do that? I didn't have to do that. But the reality is that the Holy Spirit will do a work in your heart.
Come on.
That causes you to be at peace. Blessed are the peacemakers. You know what I mean? So that will cause you to want to make peace as long as it's in your power. We've talked about this a lot, right? In like your own story with your own like life and like all that stuff. It's like we want to be Christ followers, but we want to be recipients of grace, but we don't want to be dispensers of grace.
No.
I want to be able to make it easy for me.
I think it's crazy because like I think about like at least for me, and like obviously like we just know about each other and like the things that we struggle with, but I think like something we talk about a lot is especially like being in missions and like doing what we do, like there is such a gap in understanding when it comes to like people at home. And I think like something...
Explain what you mean by that.
So like, okay. So I think like doing like in the podcast you guys just had with Megan, the first one that you released, you said something where you told her a lot of people have a misunderstanding about what you do, where they think she's on a 9-month vacation and she's getting to travel the world and doing all of these incredible things. And, you know, it's a beautiful experience, but it's far from a vacation.
Yeah.
Like that's not what a mission trip is long term. Like it's not what it is.
Shouldn't be.
No, it shouldn't. It shouldn't be. But
it has been in the past.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's the reason why people like,
for sure.
Right, yeah.
But I think sometimes, you know, even people who are home and they go to church and they're Christian and all these things, there's just a gap in understanding, especially if they've never experienced a mission trip or if they've never experienced what that, you know, that atmosphere, that environment. So it's like, there are some things we can explain, but we can't make other people understand. And so I think like something for me that I've definitely had to like grasp and like I still struggle with it is like being okay with being misunderstood. Because I think like there are so many times, and when you have conflict with people, like, and I do this to you all the time, I want you to understand everything that I'm feeling all the time. And it's just not possible.
And that's self-serving.
And exactly. And it's like something that like I've had to be like, okay, like, you know, like there's a difference between like making an effort and communicating and like, you know, making the effort to reconcile. But at the end of the day, it's like, there are some things you cannot force somebody else to understand.
Can I tell you something that will really strip that from you? Which, by the way, I think that this is...
what?
Can I tell you something that will really strip that from you? Like that desire to be understood. Have kids.
That's great.
And I'll tell you why. Because...
Not too soon.
Because then you start realizing that being understood is not the most important thing in the world. Being loved is the most important thing in the world.
Yeah.
Right.
And...
That's good.
And so first of all, Jesus was, when we had this, we talked about this on one of the podcasts. Jesus was very comfortable being misunderstood. Very comfortable. Like he would say some stuff and people would be like,
oh my God.
are you crazy? And Jesus would be like,
No.
Maybe I am.
He'd be like, I am. What? Right?
Yeah.
But like, he was so comfortable being misunderstood. And the deal with being understood, we've talked about this a lot with like marriage, for example. By the way, guys, having good, healthy friendships are going to be so helpful for you to gauge what a good relationship feels like. and how it should not only serve you, but be of good use for you to become the person that God's called you to
So
be.
that
You know
you
what I
can
mean?
serve.
So helpful. Like you being able to be comfortable with the fact that hard conversations exist, that you need, like all that stuff. Like it's just like a part of
Because there's no marriage like
It never ends.
there's no marriage that doesn't have some conflict in it.
Right.
Like even my parents, so I may have never seen it like physically, like, but I know my parents disagree with stuff, but I know that they love each other more than anything. And so, all of those different areas.
Yeah, and then you're
so,
going to have that conflict.
Yeah.
But like with marriage is a good example about being misunderstood. I can tell you this 100%. I have no idea how hard it is to be home with the kids all day.
Yep. Yep.
I have no idea.
Yep.
And Tara does not endlessly try to make me understand. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
Because her highest priority is not serving herself and affirming herself. Her highest priority is doing what she's supposed to do.
Right.
Doing what she feels called to do.
What she's supposed to do, right? Like, I mean, this is her call.
She has decided that mothering her children at home is her call.
It doesn't matter that because obviously she sees me, and this is part of having a good, healthy marriage. She sees me doing the parts that she can never understand that I do, right? And that I don't force her to try to understand.
Right.
I just do my part and she does her part, you know? I feel it's a sign of maturity, a sign of being perfected in the love of God when you can look at somebody in the face and think, you really have no idea what I'm doing for you. Forgive them, Lord, for they know not what they do. You know what I mean? Like
It's self-control.
It's self-control, because they're in every person, there's this little tiny monster trying to say, but you don't get me. You don't understand me. You don't listen. This is what I feel though. This is what's really important to me. Right. And that's not to say that shouldn't be a part of the conversation a lot of the times, but that shouldn't be the priority of your life, that people just get you. Like, what about them? You know
Go,
what I mean?
Emily. Say it. What do you
But
say?
I feel like what's freeing from that too is just grasping the concept that like the Lord understands everything.
Hey, you got to come on, girl. You better
Come on.
Because it's like I can't
That's the only way you can have what I just said.
Yeah. I can't explain everything that goes on inside of me. I don't even know half the things that goes on inside of me.
I don't even know
You're
myself.
still trying to figure yourself out.
Exactly.
Come on now.
But the Lord does. And so I think like when I can like notice I'm seeking like to be understood by a person, I have to go back to like, okay, but
so
who
good.
understands
So good.
me
Come
better
on.
than
Aitza
I
has
understand
something
Which comes
myself?
to the fact of holding fast to Yeshua,
Right.
Yeah.
Him,
Yeah.
but then allow yourself to be vulnerable.
Right.
But then whenever you
like
feel,
a- it's like a tug of war. Yeah.
Well, I would just call it's not even a balancing. It's an understanding.
Right.
So this I go to the Lord. This I go to people.
Right.
This I go to the Lord.
Yes.
This I can go to people.
Yes.
The Lord is shutting this door, but that door you're opening up. Like it's the understanding. It's not balance is not the right word. It's just understanding.
No, and I think it's having a key awareness
Yes.
that God keeps track of everything.
Yeah,
Right,
go.
And
Go.
going back to like all of it, like it's so crazy because a quick testimony, like with like people not understanding whatever, I have like close friends, in Florida, and it's like I moved, whatever. And I remember one of my friends came on a missions trip to Puerto Rico, and like, man, there was a incredible week. They got to see like the origin and like how evangelism started and like Christ started on the island. And it was crazy. Like at that point, I was like before I was trying for them to get it. I was trying for them to like understand
Connect the
why
dots,
I'm
gosh
here.
dang
yeah,
it.
I'm like, God called me here. This is
What
why
I'm doing
here.
is important.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I wasn't getting that. So at that point I was like, Lord, I give it to you. I was like, I know you called me here. Whether or not people get it, I'm doing it. So then when she came, it was crazy. One day she pulled me aside. She starts crying. I'm like, what happened? She's like, Aitza, one of my biggest prayers coming here was that God would show me why he took you out of Florida. And like, she's like, now I get it. Like now I get like the burden sensation that the Lord had. And I'm weeping and I'm telling you, like, I received peace that I didn't even know I needed. Because it's like I was like not seeking like,
And it wasn't until
So
I
you
fully,
let go.
I fully gave up. And then that's
Yep.
when the Lord came
Come on.
through, and I was just blown away.
Come on,
That's
come on.
amazing.
The Lord answer prayers, man. But hey, we are blessed, guys. guys, we are officially out of time out on the
He's
Prolific
landing it
Podcast
before
Live.
we finish
Before I
in
land
1
30
minute.
seconds.
Can you close it in 1 minute?
I can close it. But hey, we love you guys. I mean it. Thank you so
you.
much for listening. Thank you so much for being supporters. Thank you for sharing.
Yes,
Thank you for
guys.
so
Thank
many
you so
different
much.
things. Thank you for watching it while you guys eat dinner and just like driving
sure.
and working and all. It's truly, truly.
And
we are
thank you for
blessed.
living out.
Yeah, yeah.
The premise of like
of being a
what
prolific
this
life.
is about.
Like,
You know what I'm
just-
saying? Like
yeah.
really like leaning
Yeah.
into friendship and
Yeah.
loving God and growing
Yeah.
together and all that
We-
stuff.
we
Like
truly
that's gonna
are. Yeah,
that's
we're-
gonna bless your life.
Yeah, we're
in a
very,
great way.
very blessed. Very, very blessed. You guys are allowing our really crazy who we are, the clinging to Jesus and our craziness to have an impact on your guys' lives. So we're grateful for you. Love you, Em. You're amazing. It's been a
you guys.
blessing to get to meet you and get to know you. Truly, thank you guys. You haven't even hit the button. You got to get me with the outro.
Oh my bad. I'm sorry.
You got to hit
There
me
you
with
go.
the
Sorry.
outro.
That's why you were extrapolating it so long.
I was really waiting for my
Gotcha.
friend to land it. So the cameras may have turned off because of you, but it's fine. I love him long time. Oh, quick. We're going to land it. Oh, no, that's not
Oh
going
my
to work.
God.
We love you guys. We love you guys so much. Deuces.